You ready?
Do you want to shut the door?
I'm officially taking over. All right, let's call to order this emergency meeting of the California Housing Financing Agency Board of Directors. Before we get into a determination of need, can we have a roll call?
Ms. Avila Farias, Ms. Gallagher, Mr. Secretary Ambassiani, Mr. Gunning,
Here.
Mr. Hunter, Ms. Johnson Hall,
Here.
Mr. Agee,
Here.
Mr. Olmsted,
Here.
Ms. Von Cook-Liebert,
Here.
Mr. Prince, Mr. Russell,
Present.
Ms. Sotelo,
Here.
Ms. Haig, Ms. Miller, Ms. Boatman Patterson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
I'm sorry, would you say that one more time?
We have a quorum.
Hey, those of you on the phone, thank you on a Friday, finding location, getting here, certainly appreciate that. Before we move on to the business, I think we do need to talk about why we're meeting here today. So I've asked Claire to share with us the determination of need for a special meeting and the board adoption for such.
Just for purposes of clarity, this is not an emergency meeting, this is a special meeting. You're welcome. And the finding that we're making in the necessity for this special meeting under Government Code Section 11125.4 sub A7 is the following. I'm going to go ahead and read the resolution into the record. Bagley-Keene generally requires 10 days notice before state bodies such as the Board of Directors of the California Housing Finance Agency may hold meetings. And whereas actions of the Board of Directors of the California Housing Finance Agency may be taken only by a concurrence of a majority of the entire membership thereof, excepting non-voting ex officio members pursuant to Health and Safety Code Section 50914 sub B, and whereas at the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the California Housing Finance Agency duly called on the 3rd day of December, a quorum of members was not established. Whereas at the regular meeting duly called on the 3rd day of December, 4 affordable housing projects seeking loans from the agency were scheduled to be presented to the board for their consideration for approval. Whereas there are various external deadlines for financial transactions of the projects that need to occur within a time frame of less than 10 days, and whereas the legislature finds and declares that the subject of housing is of vital statewide importance to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of California. The state of California is experiencing a severe shortage of available, affordable housing units statewide, and whereas without the board's immediate consideration of the projects, harm would be caused to the public by preventing the development and preservation of said affordable housing units. Now therefore be it resolved that the board of the agency hereby finds that it must meet on fewer than 10 days' notice to consider action on loans related to affordable housing. The board finds the delay necessitated by providing notice 10 days prior to a meeting as required by the government code would cause harm to the public interest, and that the immediate action of the board is needed pursuant to the government code to consider action on loans related to affordable housing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Claire. Appreciate that. Does everyone understand and appreciate why we did that? Those of you on the phone?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Is there a motion to accept or adopt? There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Zach, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gunning,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Agee,
Yes.
Mr. Olmsted,
Yes.
Ms. Von Cook-Liebert,
Yes.
Mr. Russell,
Aye.
Ms. Sotelo.
Yes.
Resolution 19-21 is approved.
Great, thank you, Melissa. Next is Chairman or Executive Director comments. Just certainly want to thank everyone for taking time to get here and to do this clearly, as Claire stated. The timing just required that we call this meeting and approve these projects. And we are in this crisis, and certainly what we can do to help is important. So that's all I have to you. Do you want to add anything? Nope. Great. With that, my goal here, group, is since we've heard from this, is to do a very brief overview of where we are. I'm hoping those of you on the phone have had a chance to look through the projects. We really, if you have questions, please answer them. I think all of us here have had a chance to review. Lynn, of course, I know the secretary was here, but we hope to get through this fairly quickly, guys. With that, Kate, do you want to lead off and
Yes,
start
sir.
for us?
I'd be happy to. Good afternoon, Chair Gunning and members of the board. My name is Kate Ferguson, and I am the Director of Multifamily Programs. I thought that I would run through the 4 loans which were submitted, which are submitted today under agenda items 1 through 4 for final approval. We made full presentations of each for the record at the board meeting held on December 3rd, and the loan officers are here today to answer any questions should we have them. First, I wanted to share some detail of our equity cash out policy because there were a number of questions on that on the 3rd, and I can run through that very briefly for you.
Please.
Okay, I'm just trying to, there we go. As you all know, the underwriting of all multifamily lending is guided by the Underwriting Standards and Reference Manual, or the USRMs, as we refer to them. The USRMs are generally for internal use, while our public loan policies are reflected in the term sheets of various loan programs posted to our website. Generally, our USRMs require more restrictive underwriting criteria for loans funding equity cash out. For instance, they require an 80% loan to value versus a 90% on a standard deal. Extension of affordability requirements are required, higher maintained occupancy rates, and required funding of all reserves up front. The details of these requirements are shown in the next 2 slides. The second slide just reflects more detail on the underwriting requirements. In response to the recognized need for existing housing stock while allowing for preserving existing housing stock while allowing developers to access equity in their existing portfolios to fund new investment in affordable multifamily projects, the policy allows for equity cash out in 3 situations without triggering the more stringent underwriting requirements. These 3 situations would be to pay off a partnership tax liability, to pay partnership contributions required under an existing limited partnership agreement, or to fund future investment in affordable multifamily rental housing. The first 2 loans, this is relevant to the first 2 loans I'm going to cover today. Both of these are loans to Burbank Housing under their ongoing strategy to replace Sonoma County housing stock lost in the Tubbs fire of 2017. So the first loan that we'll look at today is Panis Place. Panis is a refinance of an existing CalHFA loan with an outstanding balance of $2.6 million to a $6.4 million loan. Cash equity out after the funding of all reserves and rehab is $2.1 million. The use of the equity out will go, as I just said, to the replacement of housing stock in Sonoma County that was lost in the Tubbs fire. The project is 66 units. The loan will fund $450,000 in rehab needs along with the full capitalization of the replacement reserve to meet needs over the next 20 years. Do we want to vote on this one first or do them all? Do all 4?
Do you want to do all of them?
Or vote on them
Vote on one
individually?
I just had a quick question on it, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Go ahead, Delilah.
Hi, if we are gonna vote on all of them at the same time, can we just also stipulate if we have a transition reserve on requirement on any of these? I know that was one of the other issues on the, equity cash out.
Yeah, there is not a transition reserve requirement on this one,
Okay,
or on the other Burbank one.
There's no section
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was
no
no
section
cap
eight.
contract.
There's no section
I have a question.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Go ahead, Steve.
My question is, the cash out going to replacement of housing stock, is that outcome of the intended use of the funds, is that indicated anywhere in the documents, or is that just simply the stated intent of the developer?
It will be self-certified by the developer at closing.
Okay, very good.
Didn't they
Thank
tell
you.
us which project?
Yeah, it's, I forget that, I'm not sure what the new name will be, but it was
Scatter site.
No,
No.
it was an existing senior mobile home.
Mobile home
called-
project.
Yeah.
Right.
Called
The-
Journey's End.
Journey's in. That's
Steve
it.
back the
Replacing
loan
all
officer.
of the units,
Yes,
Yes.
and maybe even a little
a
more.
little more.
Correct.
Yes,
Because
yes.
I think Journey's End was completely
It
destroyed.
was completely destroyed, and I
Yes.
think there were actually several fatalities related to that, so. So this is specifically both of these funds from both Panis Place and the next deal, which is West Oaks, are going to that particular project.
Yeah, Steve, and this is Michael, this organization was originally the Santa Rosa Public Housing Entity that grew out of that, so they're clearly dedicated to the region and have a specific project in mind for the funds.
Great. No, thank you. This is actually good news, and I'm pleased that we as an agency are serving in this role of taking equity and turning it into new housing in the face of this emergency.
Agreed.
So would you like to go through all four of the deals and then do one vote, or should you?
I think that's the preference, yes, council.
May I suggest that we vote on each resolution
It'd be fine to
independently?
do them all and at the same time.
Let's get them all done.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. The next deal, also a Burbank development deal, is West Oaks. Also in Santa Rosa, Sonoma County, existing CalHFA portfolio. The deal is structured similar to Panis Place, refinance of an existing deal with an outstanding balance of 2.3 to a $4.75 million loan. Cash equity out will be $2.1 million after some very limited rehab and the funding of all reserves. Again, this will go to the replacement of housing stock in Sonoma County lost in the Tubbs fire. Again, no Section 8 on this, so no reserve.
Great.
The third deal that, yes, sir.
Any questions?
Oh, I'm sorry, are there any questions? I'd be happy to answer.
Just have a quick one. It's actually, I think both projects stipulated that they would be increasing the rent, once the disaster check moratorium was lifted. Did the developer do any analyses on what that would be the impact on the current tenants? Would it be like they would be unable to pay the higher rent, or was that part of the consideration?
Steve, would you like to?
Yeah, they're working,
Steve,
they're working.
Could you come up
Yeah.
to the table and
You bet.
introduce your name?
Hi, Steve Beckman, I'm an officer with CalHFA. They're working with the tenants right now, and there's actually a cap that was placed there by Governor Brown that will burn off in a little while, and then they're going to incrementally increase them over time. Yeah, they're not just going to jump up.
Talk about
In our underwriting, that was something that was, kept the loan amounts down because they weren't going to be increasing the rents up to the current AMIs. Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, all right, well,
I'm sorry, Kate, one other question. With other transactions that we've looked at, the cash out provisions, we've always stipulated that it's subject to being finalized based on any cost overrun of the projects, that it's kind of the last money that comes out. From a timing standpoint on both of these Burbank ones, are they getting the cash out at initial closing or at final closing after all the work is done?
It'll be at final, and various amounts of work are being done. For instance, on West Oaks, it's in really good shape, so there hardly is any work being done. We have a very, very large replacement reserve capitalized for the next 20 years on West Oaks. The prior project, Panis Place, has some work being done. And yes, there will be, the equity will be held back until the work is completed.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that from a timing standpoint, if the deals were not as robust, or, we were concerned about what was going into the project, that the final cash out get calculated after the project is completed.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Hey, can I remind everyone before you talk, just say your name so the folks who are watching us on YouTube know who you are. Thank you.
Anything else with that one? Okay. All right, the third deal that we're bringing for final approval today is Pernell Dwellings. This is a McCormick Barron Salazar partnership with the San Francisco Housing Authority. Pernell is one of the final red transition deals, transitions of a Hope 6 project that's owned by the San Francisco Housing Authority. McCormick Barron will be purchasing the 159 unit property and perform substantial rehab. Their rehab budget is $42.6 million, so that is clearly a very large rehab. This will be a partnership, as I said, between McCormick Barron Salazar and the SF Housing Authority. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Did you mention it was a RAD deal?
Yes, ma'am.
Any members on the phone have questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Tina. I did mention to the staff that I did note that the appraised value here was, that the seller note was based on the appraised value. And in the previous Genesis, the restricted rent value that was noted in the documentation was considerably lower than the seller note. So I just wanted to make sure that that had been addressed in the documents.
Hi Tina, this is Sheena, co-credit officer. Yes, it has been addressed on the documents. It has been updated to the higher amount.
All right. Thank you. What page, can you give me the page reference so that I can just take a look at that?
Sure. I believe it is section 26 on page 7, or page 81 of the board package.
Thank you.
What section did you say,
I think
Sheena?
it's 26?
It's
Page 80.
Page
80.
81? Oh,
80.
80, sorry, it got shifted.
Mr. Chair, this is Delilah Sotelo. I had a quick question.
Yes, go ahead, Delana.
On this particular project, you mentioned that it was a RAD project, and I assume it has a project-based rental subsidy. Says here for 20 years. Is there a transition reserve as part of this development budget?
Yeah, so there isn't a transition reserve, and the reason for that is because the underwriting assumes a 35-year amortization due at year 17, which is shorter than the 20-year term, Section 8 contract.
So we anticipate that it'll be refinanced in year 17?
Correct.
Okay. And then reset?
Correct, yes.
Any other questions on this deal? Thanks,
Good.
Sheena.
Seeing none, let's move forward.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to remind folks on the 2 Burbank deals, these were deals that we had worked closely with HCD on to develop a framework for an equity out, and remind folks that we did mention in the last board meeting that we need to look at various ways to be able to finance affordable housing. Within our existing system of affordable housing, using bonds and tax credits, if we only use bonds and tax credits in our existing system, we can only get about 25,000 units annually. So looking at equity out provisions, looking at other ways in which we can rehab and preserve these units that may be outside of our traditional ways of financing is very important. So I'm very pleased that we were able to work with our sister agency HCD on these deals.
Thank you, T. We appreciate that. Final one?
Yes, sir. Stone Pine Meadow Apartments, which is a deal being developed by Eden Housing in Tracy, California. This is existing in the current CalHFA portfolio. 71 affordable units, rehab budget of 6.9, which is a moderate rehab. This financing will include tranche A, which I believe we went through the 2 tranches of the loan when we presented it. One reflects the tranche B loan is fully amortizing to match the expiration of the Section 8 contract, and then the tranche A loan reflects what the project can carry without the Section 8 on an ongoing basis. So I just wanted to touch on that because that's why we structured it that way. Total conduit will be $13.6 million, and our subsidy loan will be $2.39 million with a 55-year term and a 2.5% simple interest. Any questions on that?
Anyone on the phone?
I'm good.
I'm good.
So without objection, if you would like to take up all of the items, Mr. Chair?
And I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Delilah. So, I think Tina had a great suggestion. Why don't you say that out loud?
So if there is no objections on taking up items 4 through 7 as staff has presented and recommended, we could take a vote on that?
All is one motion.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is a motion there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider all the items at once. I'll let a roll call.
Mr. Gunning?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Agee?
Aye.
Mr. Olmsted?
Aye.
Ms. Von Cook-Liebert?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Ms. Sotelo?
Aye.
Resolutions 19-22, 19-23, 19-24, and 19-25 are approved.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Staff, thank you coming on a Friday. You guys on the phone, San Diego, Los Angeles, can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming out on the weekend. Well, not to be the weekend. Before we close, is there any comment from the public? Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. We're adjourned.